I, like a lot of people, have been waiting for the new MacBook Pro. And now that it is here, and it is actually really good, I decided to make an entirely new setup, which you know I love to do. But because the MacBook Pro is so good, I wanted to make sure that I can use all of the great features with this new MacBook Pro, but also still have everything else like a desktop setup. So really what I'm working with here is a lot of the same things that I've used before in my desktop setups, but also a bunch of new accessories that let me utilize that MacBook Pro. So the kind of heart of this whole setup is the 14-inch MacBook Pro. I've had the 16-inch in the past, and now that I had the 14-inch in my hands, man, I'm not going back. I love this size. I think it's perfect. And the specs I went for is the base 10-core M1 Pro chip. So I didn't go for the Max. I didn't go for a more high-end Pro. This is just the 10-core option, and so far I am really liking it. But there's a bunch of things about this MacBook Pro that I absolutely love, processor aside. The processor is great. It beats everything I've pretty much ever used, even in this configuration. And you've seen all those videos from a bunch of other great creators out there. But what I really love is, one, the screen. This mini LED display is one of my favorite things I've ever had in a laptop. It gets super bright, especially when you're viewing HDR content, which admittedly, I'm not doing all that often, but when I do pull up a YouTube video or watch something on Netflix, it is excellent. And because of the mini LED, it means the blacks get super black, the colors are extremely vibrant. It just is a very good screen. I've been using the pretty much same screen on the iPad Pro for a while now, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but having that also on my laptop, I love it. Of course, there is the notch in this screen, but honestly, I forgot about it after a few minutes, and having those slimmer bezels, I think is worth it, although, the notch is still controversial. But paired with that, I think for the whole visual experience is those speakers. Now, like I said, I had the 16-inch Intel MacBook Pro before, and those speakers are excellent. And it feels like I have those, but in a 14-inch laptop. They just sound really good. Not quite as full as the new 16-inch version, but still plenty good for me. And then in between that is the keyboard, no more touch bar. Love the way this looks, keyboard is great. And the Touch ID button is also improved as well. And then finally, for all the updates to this MacBook Pro, the port situation. Having MagSafe back, godsend, I love it. But you can also charge with USB Type-C, which is great because I'm using that in my entire setup, that one cable setup with Thunderbolt. And then when I need to, I can plug in my SD card, I can plug in other USB devices. I don't use HDMI, so I don't need it, but it's there if I ever do. But basically, this has replaced my Thunderbolt hub because all the ports are back, and this is really all that I ever need. So having it all in one place is great. But I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it for the MacBook Pro. It's what I have wanted in a laptop. I love it. It really did well. But all the features of it are so good that I still wanted to use them when I'm at my desk. I'm not going to be editing on a 14-inch laptop all day, every day. It's great for when I need the portability, but when I'm at home and when I'm doing a lot of work, I still want a bigger display. So that is where this setup comes in. So really, this setup is made possible by a bunch of products from grovemade. Grovemade was nice enough to send out a bunch of these different products, which I'm using all over the place in this setup, and I think really make it look next level. So I have their desk shelf, which I've talked about before. This thing has always been a part of my setup since I got it. It's great. But one thing that is crucial to making this setup work is the new grovemade laptop riser. So grovemade has made a bunch of different stands in the past. They have one for when you're in clamshell mode or if you're just using it normally. But this one specifically works really well to rise your laptop up to eyesight level, especially when you're using like a desktop setup like this. And it works really well with the other grovemade products like the shelf. And it's made with great materials. I have the maple one here, it has aluminum and felt. And in the back, it has cable management. So if I want to route one of the cables through, I can do that. So when I unplug it, it doesn't just fly off the table. This is a great stand. I'm really liking it, and it really makes this setup work. And by the way, all these grovemade products, along with everything else I'm talking about, is linked down below. So go check this out. So the MacBook Pro is sitting on that stand off to the left, and on the right, I have my BenQ PD272OU. I've talked about this so many times in all my setups. I want to get another monitor, but I can't find one that is any better for a decent price. Don't get me wrong, there's better monitors out there, but trying to keep the budget down a little bit. But this monitor lets me have the size, lets me have thunderbolts, it's great color accuracy, and having this here really works well because I have the size, but then I still can use the great 14-inch MacBook Pro screen. So if I want to get really detailed colors, I can use the screen on the MacBook Pro. I can also use it as, a smaller secondary monitor for like my email or Twitter or whatever I want to have up. It's just nice to have that on the side, but still have my big display. But I wanted to take the displays to the next level, and that's where the second XDR display comes in with the 12.9-inch iPad Pro. So that is sitting on another grovemade stand. This is their iPad stand. Same quality as all the other products, same materials. Excellent, I love this thing. But because of the placement of the laptop and the monitor, I can have the iPad Pro right in front of me, and this is where I can, play a YouTube video or run social media or anything else I want to see. And if I really wanted to, I can connect the iPad to the Mac with Sidecar and have a triple monitor setup. One thing I am waiting for though is the universal control with macOS Monterey. Hopefully that comes soon, because then it will be perfect to be able to use my mouse and just control all the devices without having to use Sidecar. I'm excited for that feature. But speaking of my mouse, this is a tried and true. It's the Logitech MX Master 3. Great mouse. Not going to talk about it too much. I'm sure you have heard about it, but if you're looking for a great mouse, go buy this one pretty much. But one accessory I'm using with it now is called Carpio. It's from Delta Hub, and it's just a wrist rest that you can use with your mouse. If you work on your computer all day like I do, there's the occasion when your wrist starts to hurt a little bit. So having something a little bit more ergonomic helps. And this just kind of rises your wrist a little bit more so your arm is a little more flat instead of up and down. But the keyboard here is the Keychron K4. This is a tried and true. Keychron has been making some really great keyboards lately. And if you want a Mac specific mechanical keyboard that you can just use right out of the box without having to get like different keycaps or anything, this is the way to go. Oh, and by the way, the felt mouse pad, that's from grovemade also. Now on the very edge of the desk up in the corner, I have a mount for my EOS R6. And the reason this is here is for the podcast that I am doing. So this is the Apple Circle podcast. I host it with Robert Rosenfeld, who does videos over on the Apple Circle channel. But this podcast is where we will talk about all the latest news for the Apple world. And I've talked a bunch about these new MacBook Pros, the Apple Watch Series 7, everything new Apple has talked about. We have the podcast in video form or audio form. I'll leave links to it down below, but definitely go check that out. Now on the other side of the desk is where I have some accessories. So this desk shelf has a shelf, obviously, and I could put my Pixel 6 here. I have the Magic Trackpad here just in case I ever need to use it, and whatever else I need to store there. But in front of that, I have, again, another grovemade product. This one is probably actually my favorite of all of the bunch. It's a MagSafe stand. So it's basically like a adapter for the regular MagSafe cable from Apple. It just sticks in there and then you route the cable through, and now you have a MagSafe stand. And what's great about this is that it's actually MagSafe compatible because it's using the actual Apple cable. So you can put your phone there, charges super fast, 15 watts MagSafe charging. It's weighted, so you can just pick up your phone really easily. And I think it just looks really good while doing it. And next to that, I have my headphones of choice, the AirPods Max. Now I know these are pricey headphones, but once you use them, I think you are really going to like them. There's a bunch of good deals on them, especially now that we're nearing the holidays. So if you can find them at a discount and you're eager to get them and try them out, I say give them a shot. They're my favorite headphones really ever because they're wireless, have all the AirPods features, but also sound really good. I like them a lot. I use them for pretty much everything I do. But if I'm not listening to headphones, I actually just use the MacBook Pro speakers. They're good enough for me for passive listening. Like I'm not needing any high fidelity or anything like that. They get plenty loud, they sound good enough. And most of the time I'm listening to like audio of people talking. So that works perfectly fine on these speakers. If I want high fidelity, I'll put on the headphones. If not, the MacBook Pro speakers work perfectly fine. Now, what you might not be able to see from this side of the desk is the other side of the desk, and that is kind of part two of my whole setup. So this is just a bookshelf that I've had for a little while, but I made it into my camera / gear storage section. So I can just get there, I can pick up a lens, I can pick up a camera, and it's all there ready for me to go. So I've got my Blackmagic Pocket 6K here. I'm filming this with the R6, so can't really show it, but that usually lives here. I also have my RX 100F and my DJI Mavic 2 Pro. Everything here is ready for me to pick up and use whenever I need to. Now, one other product here that's nice for the ambiance is this light from Govee. Now, they sent this out a while ago, and gotta be honest, they're probably mad at me because I haven't talked about it yet, but I've been using this light a lot. Basically, the way to think of Govee products is like Philips Hue products, but for a much more affordable price. They're all smart, you can control them with your phone, changes the colors. This is just the lamp that I've been using, but they also have a bunch of different other kinds. So far, really liking this. Sorry it took me so long to actually talk about it, but this is a must get. And speaking of ambiance is the other part of that, which is the Nanoleaf Elements. Now, Nanoleaf has been making these wall panels for a while now, but the Elements is great because it actually has wood paneling. So when it's off, it looks just as good as when it's on. These are controlled over HomeKit, which is nice, so I can just do it right from Siri or my phone. And they can go into this warm color, they can go to a cool color. I really like the way this looks, and you can make a bunch of different designs. This is a nice little addition to the background. When I'm sitting at my desk, I see it back there. I like it a lot. But I mean, yeah, that is pretty much the entire setup here. I wanted something functional that let me do everything I need that I was kind of used to with a normal desktop setup, but still utilize the MacBook Pro and get all the benefits of the cool features when I'm not using it as a laptop, which most of the time is the case. So I've got the best of both worlds. The setup is complete, super happy with it. And yeah, this MacBook Pro is working out well.